lot of the information that we received at our orientation to foster care was not super surprising to me because I have been sleeping, and breathing foster care information for the past several months. Welcome back. Today I wanted to sit down and talk to you guys a little bit about our orientation to foster care. We had this 2 days ago and I wanted to film this video while everything was still fresh in my mind. Now keep in mind that every foster care orientation is going to be slightly different, I believe, depending on the state that you're in and the guidelines and policies that are set for each state, but then also I believe each county might have variances in their orientations as well. So this is just our experience and some of the information that we received during our orientation.
I want a blanket for myself.
You should have a pink blanket on your bed. Okay, so our orientation was also a little bit different because instead of a group setting orientation, it was a one-on-one orientation with us at our home. So that was really nice because we could ask any question that we wanted, and I was very thankful that she was open and willing to do that. Plus, we didn't have to find childcare because she just came to our home. So at the orientation, she brought us 2 giant packets. This first one is much thicker, and then the second one is a little thinner, and this one is the foster parent handbook, and then this one is all of the orientation information. So in the orientation information is a bunch of stuff from the Michigan DHS, Department of Health and Human Services. So they gave us 3 booklets. They gave us licensing rules for foster family homes and foster family group homes for children. Then they gave us licensing rules for child placing agencies. So we have a copy of what our agency has to follow in terms of policy and procedure in case we think anything they're doing is not appropriate. And then my understanding is this one contains both of these 2, but also maybe some extra stuff. So this one is Act number 116 of the Public Acts of 1973 as amended, again, specific to Michigan. Hang on, I think my rice is boiling over and Cecily needs help. Be right back. A lot of the information that we received at our orientation to foster care was not super surprising to me because I have been sleeping, and breathing foster care information for the past several months, knowing that this was happening, and I've been trying to just do my own research and find as much information as I possibly could. So a lot of it was familiar to me, but there were a few things that did surprise me. They also went over the good moral character crimes. These are things that would automatically exclude you from becoming a foster parent if you had committed any of the crimes that are considered good moral character crimes, which are pretty big time things like homicide, murder, manslaughter, mayhem, neglect homicide, assault, battery, and so on. So a lot of the big time things, you can't become a foster parent if you have any of those in your background. And then they also include a copy of the child protection law. Because we weren't doing a group orientation, we did not watch the video during the orientation itself, but she did give us a 3-page questionnaire for a video that's agency specific that we need to watch, and then we need to fill out these questions. There are things like, what is foster care? List 3 things about children in foster care. What are some misconceptions about foster care, and so on. And then questions about the licensing process and attachment and separation, and also the overall impact of fostering. Also included was actual foster home for Michigan license application. This is just 2 pages in our state, so that was much shorter actually than I thought. That was one of the things that surprised me. I thought the application was going to be much longer, but come to find out that the actual home study questionnaire is going to be the most lengthy thing, but the application itself is actually not that long. Also, a whole bunch of information given to us about the legal system itself, how that works, how many days after placement do various things happen, like the preliminary hearings, pre-trials, trials, review hearings, permanency hearings, and all of that stuff. So they kind of gave us a flow chart and walked us through the timelines of each of those things. Talked to us about how it's important to be in court so that you can get the most accurate information for the case and not just rely on the social worker, because a lot of times the social worker is bound by confidentiality agreements and they can't tell you certain details of the child's case. She also walked over visitations, how often those happen. Again, I don't know if this is universal for all of the United States, but for sure in Michigan, she just talked about how 0 to 2-year-olds have 3 hours a week of visits, and then anyone ages 2 to 6 has 2 hours a week of visits, and then I believe it was 7 and older has 1 hour a week of visits. And that is divided across parents if the parents are divorced or are no longer together. So each parent would have 3 hours, but then that time is usually divided. So you would have potentially, in the case of a 0 to 2-year-old, if their parents were no longer together, you would potentially have 4 1.5-hour visits in a week. That was interesting. She also talked to us about the overall licensing process, how that kind of works, what happens with that for our specific agency and in our county. She also talked to us about ongoing trainings and the policies about that. And then she talked about grievance procedures, what happens if you have a grievance against your agency. She talked about the foster care review board and the appeals process, how that works in case you have a child placed with you and then they are moved to either a kinship care or another foster family or something, and if you disagree with the movement of that child from your home to this other foster home, you can file an appeal about that. She talked about mileage reimbursements for the visits. I forgot to include that in the other section. She talked about how adoption through foster care works, just very briefly. About your rights and responsibilities as a foster parent. Probably should have started with this. I'm going actually through the packet backwards. This was really cool. This is actually one of my favorite things. She talked about what children and youth in foster care want you to know, and they have this printout of things that actual foster care children, older age foster care children said. So these are real words from older youth. Things like, if we have to move, tell us why. Don't let foster parents pack our stuff without our permission. Don't let foster families tell other people, even relatives, about our background or things that they read in our file. Don't read our file and think you know us. Different things like that. I really liked that sheet. There was also the program statement for our specific agency, just saying, outlining their goals in foster care. Also talked about the biggest areas of need when it comes to foster care, and in our area it is the biggest need is for sibling groups, and then for foster families for children over the age of 5, and then also foster families for those with medical disabilities. Also, like I said, just a general description of a foster family, what their responsibilities are. She talked again about the overall time frame it's going to take to get licensed. This is probably one of the areas that I was the most surprised in. She said for our specific agency at this time, we can be licensed 100 days after our initial home visit, and our initial home visit is only in about a week and a half. So in 100 days from January 31st, which is the date of our home visit, we could be licensed, which is really exciting. I had no idea that it was going to be that fast. She talked a lot too about home safety and the different things that they're going to look for. We talked quite a bit about guns and gun storage, because my husband is a hunter and we do have guns, so we talked quite a bit at length about that and what we need to do. In our case, we do need to get a gun safe that is non-movable. Our current lock gun cases are portable, and the policy, I don't know again if this is statewide or for our agency or what, is that or maybe this is everywhere, the guns can't be in a portable case, handguns or rifles. And then the other thing that surprised me was she talked about haircuts. This seemed totally out of left field, but she said that you can't have a child get a new haircut or a new hairstyle without permission from the biological parents. So if it's a trim or maintaining a current hairstyle that they have, that's fine. But if you're going to completely transform their hairstyle, then you have to get special permission for that. And also, a baby's first haircut, you need to make sure that the parents are informed about that. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I think just overall the licensing timeframe stood out to me. My husband asked a couple really great questions about how the court process worked. I can't really think of anything else. That was our basic overview to foster care, and that's, I think, what an orientation is meant to do. Give you an overall view of what foster care is like so that you can decide for yourself if it's something you want to move forward with or not. In our case, they did not collect the applications right away. At the end of the meeting, they give you time, I believe, to fill those out because they're not super long, but you do need time to fill it out. So we are in the process of filling out our application, going over that video questionnaire like I told you guys, and then we've actually already scheduled our first home visit, like I said, for January 31st. So things are well on their way. We could potentially be licensed in 100 days from January 31. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this helps. If you have any questions about foster care or you're considering doing it, I am brand new. I'm still learning a ton. But it's my hope to share some of what I am learning with you in the hopes that it will help encourage you to become a foster parent as well. Thanks for watching. Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already, if you want to follow along in our foster care journey. And remember to go make a difference. Talk to you later. Bye.